The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the horizon's edge. Captain Jiwon Park stood with her hands behind her back, watching the distant lights through the viewport. She had been doing this job for 8 years now, escorting diplomats and protecting human colonies in 3-star systems. Most days were quiet. Most days, nothing happened. Today was not most days. The distress signal came through at 0600 hours. Jiwon's communications officer, Do-yeon Choi, turned in his seat with wide eyes. "Captain, we have an emergency broadcast from New Jeju Colony. They're under attack." Jiwon moved to his station quickly. "Put it through." The voice that came over the speakers was panicked, breaking up with static. "This is New Jeju Colony to any Earth vessels. We are under attack by unknown ships. They're firing on civilian structures. We need immediate assistance. They're not responding to our hails. Please, anyone, we need help." Lieutenant Minho Kim, her tactical officer, was already pulling up data on his screens. "Captain, I'm reading 6 hostile vessels in orbit around New Jeju. Their weapon signatures match the ships that hit the other colonies last week." Jiwon felt her jaw tighten. 3 human colonies had been attacked in the past 10 days. The attackers were from something called the Vex Collective, an empire that existed outside the Galactic Coalition. Earth's diplomats had been trying to open talks with them for weeks. The Vex weren't interested in talking. "How long until we reach New Jeju?" Jiwon asked. 40 minutes at maximum speed. Her chief engineer Hana Lei reported from the engine room through the COM system. "Take us there." Full speed. Jiwon sat in her command chair and pulled up the mission briefing on her display. The orders from Earth Command were clear. Defend human lives. Evacuate if possible. Do not engage in offensive action. Wait for diplomatic channels to work. Ji-1 had followed those orders 3 times already. She had watched colonies burn while she helped people escape. She had listened to Vex ships mock their distress calls, laughing at human pleas for peace. Every time, she bit her tongue and followed orders. Earth wanted to maintain good relations with the galaxy. Earth wanted to prove humanity was civilized, peaceful, worthy of respect. The Vex thought humanity was weak. The 40 minutes felt like 40 hours. When the horizon's edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel at New Jeju, Jiwon saw smoke rising from the colony's main settlement. Fires burned across 3 square kilometers. The Vex ships were in low orbit, still firing. "Do-yeon, open a channel to the Vex flagship," Jiwon ordered. "Channel open, Captain." Jiwon took a breath. "This is Captain Jiwon Park of the United Human Defense Force vessel Horizon's Edge. You are attacking a civilian colony. Cease fire immediately and withdraw, or we will be forced to defend our people." The response came quickly. A rough, growling voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, this is Warlord Kref of the Vex Collective. Your people make excellent target practice. Your ships are toys. Your weapons are weak. Leave now, or join your colonists in death." Laughter followed. Other Vex voices joined in, mocking. Minho's hands clenched on his console. "Captain, we have weapons lock. I can disable their engines. We have that capability." Jiwon wanted to give that order. Every part of her wanted to fire back, to make them pay for what they'd done. But she thought of Earth Command, of the careful diplomacy, of the bigger picture. Negative. Hold fire. Begin evacuation procedures. Get our people out. For the next 2 hours, the Horizon's Edge ran evacuation shuttles. They pulled survivors from the burning colony, while the Vex ships watched and occasionally fired near their position, clearly toying with them. Jiwon's crew worked with desperate efficiency. They saved 3,000 people. 400 were already dead. When the last shuttle was aboard, Jiwon ordered retreat. The Vex let them go, their laughter following the human ship as it jumped away. That night, Jiwon sat alone in her quarters. She wrote her report to Earth Command. She listed the casualties. She noted the Vex response to diplomatic contact. She recommended, as she had 3 times before, that stronger action be authorized. She knew what the response would be. The Galactic Coalition had advised patience. 17 alien species, some of them thousands of years old, all agreed that escalation was dangerous. Humanity was new to the stars. They should listen to their elders. Peace would come through persistence. The reply from Admiral Sujin Kwan arrived 12 hours later. The orders were the same. Defend and evacuate. Do not engage offensively. Diplomatic channels were still open. Have patience. One called her senior officers to the briefing room. Minho arrived first, his face tight with controlled anger. Hannah came next, looking tired. Doyan was last, carrying a datapad. I have the casualty reports from all 4 colonies, Doyan said quietly. Combined, we've lost almost 2,000 people. The Vex are broadcasting the attacks on their communication networks. They're calling it entertainment. They're making shows about hunting humans. Minho slammed his hand on the table. And we're doing nothing. We're running away while they kill our people. We're following orders, Jiwan said. But the words tasted wrong in her mouth. Orders that are getting people killed, Minho shot back. Hannah spoke up, her voice calm but firm. The Admiral is in an impossible position. If we fight back, we risk war with the Vex. The Galactic Coalition might not support us. We could be alone. We're already alone, Doyan said. The Coalition isn't helping. They're just watching and telling us to be patient while we die. Jiwan looked at each of them. These were good people. They had signed up to protect humanity, and they were being forced to watch it burn. She made a decision then, though she didn't voice it yet. If there was a 5th attack, if the Vex came for another colony, she would not simply evacuate. She would give them a warning. A real one. 3 days later, the warning became necessary. The distress call came from a mining station on the edge of human space. 800 people lived there. The Vex had sent 12 ships this time. The Horizon's Edge arrived to find the station's defenses already destroyed. Vex ships were firing on the habitat modules, systematically destroying them one by one. Jiwan ordered the evacuation to begin, but she knew they wouldn't get everyone out in time. She opened a channel to the Vex flagship. Warlord Kref, this is Captain Jiwan Park. I am giving you one final warning. Cease fire and withdraw immediately. Kref's voice was amused. Or what, human? You'll run away again? You'll file another complaint? Your species is prey. You exist for our entertainment. Jiwan stood up from her command chair. She walked to the center of the bridge, where everyone could see her. Minho accessed the legacy database. Authorization code Crimson Tide. Unlock defensive protocols. Minho turned to look at her, his eyes wide. Captain, those systems have been sealed since before first contact. Are you sure? Do it. Hana's voice came over the comm. Captain, if we unlock those systems, Earth Command will have questions. Serious questions. They can ask them later, Jiwan said. Right now, 800 people are about to die while we watch. I'm done watching. Doyan pulled up the communication channels. Captain, if you're doing what I think you're doing, the whole galaxy will see this. Good, Jiwan said. Let them see. She turned back to the viewport, watching the Vex ships continue their attack. Open a channel. All frequencies. Make sure everyone hears this. When Doyan nodded, Jiwan spoke clearly. Warlord Kref, Vex Collective. You have mistaken our courtesy for weakness. You have mistaken our patience for inability. You have one chance to withdraw. We have been polite. We have been restrained. We have been courteous. She paused. "We are about to stop." The laughter from the Vex ships was immediate and loud. Kreth's voice dripped with contempt. "Brave words from prey. Let me show you what happens to humans who threaten the Vex Collective. All ships, target the human vessel. Destroy them." 12 Vex warships turned toward the horizon's edge. Weapons charged, glowing with deadly energy. G1 looked at Minho. "Are the legacy systems online?" "Yes, Captain. All weapons unlocked." She sat back in her command chair and smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Then let's teach them what humans are really capable of. Target the flagship. Fire when ready." The weapon fired without sound in the vacuum of space, but everyone on the bridge felt it through the ship's frame. A deep vibration that spoke of enormous power being released. On the tactical display, a blue line connected the horizon's edge to Warlord Kreth's flagship. For 3 seconds, nothing seemed to happen. The Vex flagship continued moving forward, its weapons still charging. Then the ship began to shimmer. The effect started at the point where the weapon had struck and spread outward like ripples on water. The massive warship, over a kilometer long, simply came apart. Not exploding, not burning, just dissolving, breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces until there was nothing left but glowing particles that faded into darkness. 5,000 Vex. Warriors ceased to exist in the time it took to draw a breath. The other 11 Vex ships stopped moving. Their weapons powered down. No one fired. No one moved. The silence stretched across space, heavy and terrible. Doyon stared at his screen, his face pale. "Captain, what was that?" Jiwan didn't take her eyes off the viewport. "A quantum disruption torpedo. We built them 80 years ago, during the Third Global War. They break the bonds between atoms. There's no defense. No shield stops it." Minho turned in his chair. "We had weapons like that? Why didn't anyone tell us?" "Because we were supposed to forget." Hana's voice came through the CUM system, quiet and shaken. "I'm looking at the legacy database now. There are hundreds of weapons in here. Things I've never seen in any current military manual. These aren't just advanced. They're horrifying." Jiwan finally looked at her crew. "Before we met other species, we almost destroyed ourselves. The Third Global War lasted 7 years. 3 billion people died. We developed weapons so terrible that when the survivors finally made peace, they agreed to seal everything away. We promised ourselves we'd never use them again. But we kept them," Minho said softly. "We didn't destroy them. No, we didn't." Jiwan pulled up historical files on her command screen. "Our grandparents remembered what it took to survive. They hoped we'd never need these weapons again. But they weren't stupid. They knew the universe might not be peaceful." One of the remaining Vex ships began to move, breaking formation. Then another. Within seconds, all 11 vessels were running, jumping to faster-than-light travel as quickly as their engines could manage. They left their fallen commander behind. They left their pride behind. They just ran. Jiwan let them go. "Doyon, send a message to the mining station. Tell them they're safe. Begin evacuation procedures. I want everyone off that station and onto our ship within the hour." As her crew worked, Jiwan went to the engineering deck. She found Hana standing in front of a large display screen, scrolling through files that had been sealed for decades. The engineer looked up when Jiwan entered. "Captain, do you understand what we just used?" Hana gestured to the screen. "This isn't just one weapon. There are entire weapon systems in here. Relativistic kinetic missiles that hit at 90% light speed. Nanoweapon swarms that can disassemble entire fleets. AI-guided hunter-killers that track targets across star systems and don't stop until they're destroyed. I know. We didn't just build these during the war. We mass-produced them. They're our stockpiles. On Luna, on Mars, hidden in asteroids throughout the solar system. Hannah's hands were shaking slightly. We could destroy every ship the Vex Collective has in a matter of days. Maybe hours. Ji-won put a hand on her friend's shoulder. And that's exactly why we sealed them away. Because we could. Because we almost did destroy everything. So why did you unlock them now? It was a fair question. Ji-won had been asking herself the same thing since she gave the order. Because being peaceful only works when the other side respects it. The Vex thought we were weak. They were killing us because they could. Someone had to show them the truth. And what truth is that? That we choose peace. We don't default to it. Ji-won looked at the weapons specifications on the screen. There's a difference between can't fight and won't fight. The Vex needed to learn which one we are. Back on the bridge, Doyan was monitoring communication channels from across the galaxy. Captain, you need to hear this. The Galactic Coalition detected our weapon signature. They're going crazy. Ji-won returned to her command chair. Put it through. A voice came over the speakers, high-pitched and fast. It was a Keltherian, one of the oldest species in the Coalition. Human vessel Horizon's Edge. This is Coalition Observer Telmac. We detected a Class 5 reality disruption weapon discharge at your location. Such weapons have been forbidden by galactic law for 12,000 years. You will power down immediately and prepare to be boarded for inspection. Ji-won looked at Minho, who shook his head. No Coalition ships in range, Captain. The nearest one is 6 hours away. Observer Telmac, Ji-won responded calmly. We are currently evacuating civilians from a Vex attack. We will answer your questions when our people are safe. Horizon's Edge out. She cut the channel. Captain, they're going to bring charges, Doyan warned. Using weapons like that could get Earth sanctioned by the entire Coalition. I know. Ji-won pulled up the casualty reports from the 4 previous attacks. 2,000 dead. Thousands more injured or left homeless. But doing nothing was killing us too. At least this way, we're still alive to face charges. The evacuation took 3 hours. Every person from the mining station was safely aboard the Horizon's Edge before Ji-won ordered the ship to return to Earth. The journey would take 4 days at normal speed. On the second day, they received a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Sujin Kwan appeared on the main screen, her face unreadable. Captain Park, you disobeyed direct orders. You used sealed weapon systems without authorization. You've potentially started an interstellar incident. Ji-won stood at attention. Yes, Admiral. I take full responsibility for my actions. Sujin was quiet for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, she smiled. It was a small, tired smile. Good, because Earth Command is backing your decision. We've been analyzing the situation since your weapon discharge. The Vex have been testing us, seeing how far they could push before we pushed back. You answered that question. What about the Coalition, Admiral? They detected the weapon. Let me worry about the Coalition. Sujin's expression grew serious. Captain, I'm ordering you to return to Earth immediately. There's going to be a hearing. But there's also going to be a decision. For 80 years, we've kept our past hidden. We've pretended to be peaceful newcomers to the galaxy. Maybe it's time we stopped pretending. The transmission ended. Minho looked at Ji-won with concern. Captain, what did she mean? Stopped pretending? Before Ji-won could answer, alarms began blaring across the bridge. Dayan's screen lit up with new contacts. Captain, I'm reading multiple Vex signatures. Counting now. 30 ships. No, wait. 50. They're still coming through. Hannah's voice came over the comm. Urgent. Captain, Long-range sensors are showing massive fleet movements. The Vex aren't retreating. They're mobilizing. Ji-won felt ice in her stomach. How many ships total? Still counting. Over 200 now. Captain, this isn't a raiding force anymore. This is an invasion fleet. Minho pulled up tactical data. They're organized into 3 main groups, all heading toward. Oh no. Where, Lieutenant? Minho looked at her, his face grim. Earth, Captain. They're all heading to Earth. The bridge went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Vex hadn't been frightened by humanity's display of power. They'd been insulted. Now they weren't coming to raid colonies. They were coming to destroy humanity at its source. Do-yeon monitored the Vex communications, translating what he could. Captain, they're broadcasting across their entire empire. Warlord Kreth survived somehow. He's calling this a crusade. He's saying humanity needs to be taught a lesson. That prey doesn't get to have teeth. Time until they reach Earth? Ji-won asked. 6 days at their current speed. 6 days. Ji-won looked at her crew, at these people who had trusted her decision to fight back. She had wanted to show the Vex that humanity wasn't weak. She had succeeded. But now the real test was coming. Hannah, how long until we reach Earth? 4 days, Captain. Then we'd better get there first. Ji-won opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Captain Ji-won Park to Admiral Kwon. The Vex Collective is mobilizing their entire military. Over 200 warships heading for Earth. Expected arrival in 6 days. We're coming home, Admiral. And I think it's time to unseal more than just one torpedo. Admiral Sujin's response came quickly. Agreed, Captain. When you arrive, report directly to Defense Command. We're about to show the galaxy who we really are. For better or worse, humanity's done being courteous. Earth looked beautiful from orbit. Blue and white and green. Peaceful against the black of space. Ji-won had been born on that planet, in the city of Bizaun. She had looked up at the stars as a child and dreamed of traveling between them. Now she was looking down at her home, knowing an invasion force was coming to destroy it. The horizon's edge, docked at the military station above Earth. Ji-won and her crew were met by armed guards, but not as prisoners. As honored guests. They were escorted through corridors filled with hurrying personnel. Something big was happening. The entire station buzzed with urgent activity. Admiral Sujin Kwon met them in the command center, a massive room filled with holographic displays and tactical stations. The Admiral looked tired but determined. Captain Park, welcome home. I wish it was under better circumstances. Admiral, I'm sorry. I never meant to bring the entire Vex fleet down on us. Sujin shook her head. You didn't bring them, Captain. You just moved up their timeline. Intelligence reports say the Vex were always planning something like this. They see humanity as weak competition. They were going to attack eventually. You just gave them an excuse to do it now. The Admiral pulled up a display showing the Vex fleet movements. 3 massive groups of ships, all converging on Earth from different directions. They'll be here in 4 days now. Over 300 warships. The largest invasion force they've ever assembled. Minho stepped forward. Admiral, how many ships do we have? 73 combat-capable vessels. Most of them are escorts and patrol ships like the Horizon's Edge. We have 5 heavy cruisers. Against 300 Vex warships, it's not enough. Sujin looked at each of them. It's not enough if we fight them the way we've been fighting. With our hands tied, with our real weapons still sealed. Ji-won understood. You're going to unlock the full arsenal. The Security Council voted 6 hours ago. Unanimous decision. We're activating the Legacy Protocol across all defense forces. Sujin gestured to the displays. The factories on Luna and Mars are already running. They've been in standby mode for 80 years, maintained but never used. Now they're producing weapons our grandparents swore we'd never need again. Hana looked at the production numbers scrolling across a screen. These numbers ... Admiral, these factories are building missiles, torpedoes, and drone systems faster than I thought possible. They were designed for total war, Sujin said quietly. During the Third Global War, we learned how to fight ourselves. We became very, very good at it. Good enough that we almost didn't survive. Over the next 2 days, Jiwan watched Earth's military transform. Ships that had been designed for peaceful escort duty were retrofitted with weapons that had been stored in secret armories. Civilian volunteers joined the defense force by the thousands. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone wanted to help. Jiwan was given command of a squadron. 10 ships, including the Horizon's Edge. Minho, Hana, and Doyon stayed with her. They trained with the new weapon systems, learning to use tools that felt wrong in their hands. These weren't weapons for defense. These were weapons for killing efficiently and completely. On the 3rd day, Jiwan was called to a private meeting with Admiral Suji. The Admiral's office overlooked Earth, with a view that would have been peaceful any other time. Captain, I want you to understand something, Sujin began. When we activate these weapons fully, when we fight the way we're capable of fighting, we're going to kill a lot of Vex. Thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands. I know, Admiral. And the galaxy is going to see it. The Coalition is already watching us carefully. When they see what we can do, some of them are going to be afraid. Some might even become enemies. Jiwan looked at her Admiral. Are you asking if I think it's worth it? I'm asking if you can live with it. Because you started this, Captain. You fired that first torpedo. Now we're all going to follow where that choice leads. Jiwan thought about the colonists she'd failed to save. The ones who died while she followed orders to stand down. Admiral, I spent months watching our people die while we did nothing. I followed orders. I was courteous. I was restrained. And it didn't matter. The Vex killed us anyway. She met Sujin's eyes. If the choice is between being liked by the galaxy and surviving, I choose survival. We can worry about making friends later. Sujin nodded slowly. Good, because in 12 hours, the Vex fleet arrives. And we're going to show them why humanity sealed these weapons away. We're going to show them what it means to make us choose violence. The Vex fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel exactly when predicted. 3 groups, 300 warships total, arranging themselves in a blockade formation around Earth. They made no attempt to hide. They wanted humanity to see them, to understand how hopeless resistance was. Warlord Kreth's voice broadcast on all frequencies. Humans of Earth, you destroyed one of my ships. You killed my warriors. For this insult, your species will serve the Vex Collective. Surrender now, and some of you may survive as slaves. Resist, and we will burn your world until nothing lives. Admiral Sujin stood in the command center of the UHDF Resolute, the flagship of Earth's defense. She looked at the Vex fleet on her displays, at the massive force that should have been overwhelming. Then she looked at her own forces. 73 ships. Thousands of brave people who had volunteered to defend their home. She opened a channel, broadcasting to every ship in both fleets, making sure the entire Galactic Coalition could hear. Warlord Kreth, Vex Collective. You were given warnings. You were offered peace. You were shown courtesy. She paused. You chose violence. You chose to come to our home. You chose to threaten our families. Now live with that choice. Sujin looked at her tactical officer. All ships. Weapons free. Show them what humans are really capable of. Space erupted with light and death. The human ships moved first, faster than the Vex expected. They didn't charge forward like desperate defenders. They spread out in precise formations, executing maneuvers that spoke of centuries of practice fighting against themselves. The most dangerous enemy any species could face was their own kind. Humans knew how humans thought. They'd spent generations learning to counter their own tactics. G1's squadron hit the left flank of the Vex formation. Her ships fired missiles that moved at impossible speeds. Relativistic kinetic weapons that traveled at 90% light speed. Nothing could dodge them. Nothing could block them. They hit Vex shields and punched through like they weren't there. Target the command ships first, G1 ordered. Cut off their coordination. Minho worked his tactical station with grim efficiency. Firing solution locked. Torpedoes away. The quantum disruption torpedoes that had destroyed Kreth's first flagship weren't unique. They'd been mass-produced during the war. Now humanity had hundreds of them. Dozens fired in the opening moments of the battle. Vex warships simply ceased to exist, breaking apart at the molecular level. But the Vex had numbers. For every ship that died, 2 more took its place. They returned fire with plasma weapons and kinetic cannons. Human ships took hits. Shields failed. Hulls breached. People died. The horizon's edge shook as a Vex plasma bolt struck their port side. Hannah's voice came through, urgent. Port shield is down. Hull breach on deck 3. Sealing now. Doyan monitored Vex communications. Captain, they're confused. They weren't expecting this level of resistance. Their commanders are arguing about whether to push forward or pull back. Good, Jiwan said. Let's give them more to argue about. Hana, do we still have those nano-weapon packages? 3 of them, Captain. Deploy them on my mark. Target that cluster of cruisers at bearing 270. The nano-weapons launched in small containers that the Vex sensors barely detected. They got close before releasing their payload. Billions of microscopic machines, each one programmed with a single purpose: disassemble anything that wasn't human-made. The Vex cruisers began to fall apart. Not explosively, quietly. Their hulls developed holes. Their systems failed. Their life support stopped working. Within 5 minutes, 6 Vex cruisers were dead ships drifting in space, their crews trying desperately to evacuate. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human weapons that should have been forgotten proved why they'd been sealed away. They were terrifyingly effective. They killed with efficiency that spoke of the species that had learned warfare against the toughest opponent imaginable, themselves. But the Vex had more ships. They kept coming. They adapted to human tactics. They focused fire on individual human vessels, overwhelming their defenses through sheer numbers. The UHDF Courageous took a direct hit to its reactor. The explosion was bright enough to see from Earth's surface. 38 crew members died instantly. The UHDF Guardian's weapon systems failed. They were boarded by Vex warriors. The crew fought deck by deck, but they were overrun. The ship was lost. G1 watched good people die, watched brave ships burn. The Vex were learning. They were finding the patterns in human tactics. They were starting to win through sheer force of numbers. Then something changed. Doyon suddenly sat up, straight at his station. Captain, I'm detecting something in the Vex communications. Some of their ships are breaking formation. Breaking formation how? They're not attacking anymore. They're pulling back? Wait, Doyen's eyes went wide. Captain, 12 Vex ships just broadcast surrender codes. They're standing down. Jiwan pulled up the tactical display. It was true. A dozen Vex vessels had stopped firing. They were moving away from the battle, making themselves obvious targets, but not defending themselves. What are they doing? Minho asked. Ji-Wan understood. They're making a choice. Open a channel to those ships, Do-Yun. All of them. When the channel opened, Ji-Wan spoke clearly. Vex vessels that have stood down. This is Captain Ji-Wan Park. If you truly wish to stop fighting, move to the following coordinates. You will not be fired upon. You have my word. More Vex ships stopped fighting. 20, then 30, then 50. Warlord Kreth's voice screamed across the communications. Traitors, cowards, you will all die for this. But his own fleet was falling apart. Not just from human weapons, from doubt. From Vex warriors who had seen enough death and didn't want to die for Kreth's pride. And Admiral, Sujin's sensors detected something that changed everything. All human vessels. Be advised. Her voice came through urgent and tight. Warlord Kreth's flagship is charging some kind of weapon. Energy signature is massive. Analyzing now. 30 seconds later, the analysis came through. Ji-Wan felt her blood turn to ice as she read it. That's a stellar ignition device, Hana said, her voice barely a whisper. He's going to turn our sun into a supernova. He'll destroy the entire solar system. The command center of the UHDF Resolute became very quiet. Everyone understood what a stellar ignition device meant. It was a weapon that didn't just destroy planets. It destroyed entire solar systems. If Kreth activated it, Earth would die. Mars would die. Every human colony, every space station, every person in the solar system would be gone. Admiral Sujin pulled up the tactical data, her hands steady despite the weight of what she was seeing. Time until the device is fully charged? 28 minutes, Admiral, her tactical officer reported. Can we destroy Kreth's ship before then? Negative. He's positioned himself behind a shield wall of 30 warships. We'd need to fight through all of them first. Current estimates say we need at least 40 minutes to break through. 12 minutes too long. Sujin looked at the tactical display, running scenarios in her head. Every path led to the same conclusion. They couldn't reach Kreth in time. On the horizon's edge, Ji-Wan was running the same calculations and reaching the same terrible answer. Minho, if we focused all fire from our squadron on Kreth's position, could we punch through? Not before the device activates, Captain. His shields are too strong, and he has too many ships protecting him. Hannah's voice came through the comm. Captain, I might have an option. It's not a good one. Tell me. I can overload our reactor. Set it to go critical on contact. If we ram Kreth's ship, the explosion would be powerful enough to destroy him and disable the device. But it would take all of us with it. The bridge went silent. Ji-Wan looked at her crew. Minho sat at his station, his jaw tight. Do-Yun had stopped monitoring communications. They were all looking at her, waiting for her to make the decision. There has to be another way, Minho said quietly. I'm open to suggestions, Ji-Wan replied. Captain. Do-Yun pulled up something on his screen. Those legacy protocols we unlocked. I've been reading through them. There are things in here we haven't used yet, including something called an autonomous infiltration unit. Ji-Wan moved to his station. Explain. During the war, we built AI fighters. Fully autonomous. They were designed to complete impossible missions that would kill human pilots. They could think, adapt, and react faster than any living person. Do-Yun looked uncomfortable. They were sealed away because once we activated them, they were hard to shut down. Some of them kept fighting even after the war ended. You want to release a war AI? Minho asked. Those things were nightmares. I want to release one AI into one fighter with one mission, Do-Yun clarified. Get onto Kreth's ship and destroy the stellar device. Then the AI self-destructs. We give it a time limit. 30 minutes to complete the mission then it shuts down permanently no matter what. Hannah came up from engineering to the bridge. It's risky. Those AIs were made to fight humans who could think like humans. They learned to be unpredictable, creative, ruthless. We might not be able to control it. Can you set the time limit? Jiwon asked. Make it so the AI has no choice but to self-destruct after 30 minutes? Yes, that part I can do. The AI won't be able to override it. 30 minutes, and it's done. Jiwon thought about the alternative. Ramming Kreth's ship would definitely work, but it would cost her crew. This option was risky, but it gave them a chance. Do it. Load the AI into a fighter. Give it the mission parameters and the time limit. Captain, once we do this, we can't take it back, Minho warned. I know, but it's better than the alternative. 20 minutes until the stellar device activated. In the hangar bay of the Horizon's Edge, Hana worked quickly to transfer the AI from the sealed legacy database into a fighter's combat computer. The fighter was small, fast, designed for single-pilot operations. The AI would control every system. AI transfer complete, Hana reported. Mission parameters loaded. 30-minute countdown starts when it launches. Captain, this thing is already analyzing the battlefield. It's planning attack routes that I can barely follow. Will it work? If anything can get through Kreth's defenses in time, this will. But Captain, when I accessed the AI's core programming, I saw its last mission logs. This AI killed 3,000 enemy soldiers in its final deployment before humans shut it down. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't show mercy. It just completes the mission. Jiwon understood. They were unleashing something terrible to stop something worse. Launch when ready. The AI fighter launched from the Horizon's Edge at 15 minutes to detonation. It moved like nothing Jiwon had ever seen. The fighter twisted through space, dodging return fire before Vex gunners even knew to shoot at it. It predicted where enemy weapons would be and avoided those spaces before the shots were fired. Vex ships tried to intercept it. The AI destroyed them with brutal efficiency. It used micro-missiles that hit engine cores precisely, causing chain reactions that killed ships in seconds. It flew through debris fields that would have shredded a human pilot, using destroyed vessels as cover. It's incredible, Minho said, watching the fighter's progress. And terrifying. 10 minutes to detonation, Doyan reported. The AI fighter reached Kreth's defensive perimeter with 8 minutes left. 30 Vex warships surrounded the flagship, their shields linked in a defensive formation. Against conventional attack, it would have taken hours to break through. The AI didn't use conventional attack. It found the weakest point in the shield network, a microscopic gap where 3 shields intersected. The fighter dove through that gap at maximum speed, taking damage but not stopping. It breached Kreth's outer hull, using shaped charges that cut through armor like it wasn't there inside Kreth's flagship. The AI faced automated defenses and shocked Vex crew. It moved through corridors at inhuman speed, its weapons firing with perfect accuracy. Security forces tried to stop it. They died. Blast doors closed to trap it. It cut through them. Nothing slowed it down. Warlord Kreth watched his monitors in disbelief as the intruder reached his reactor level. He sent his elite guards to stop it. The AI killed them all in 17 seconds. With 4 minutes until detonation, the AI reached the stellar device. It was a massive piece of technology, pulsing with contained energy. The AI analyzed it, found its weak points, and began placing explosives with mechanical precision. Kreth himself finally confronted the intruder, stepping into the reactor chamber with a heavy weapon in his clawed hands. He expected to see a human commando. Instead, he saw a machine moving with cold efficiency, completely focused on its task. "What are you?" Kreth demanded. The AI paused in its work just long enough to respond. Its voice was flat, emotionless, synthesized. I am what humans made to fight themselves. The fact that they sealed me away should tell you how dangerous they can be. You should have stayed away. Kreth fired his weapon. The AI dodged, completed its explosive placement, and activated the charges. The stellar device began to collapse in on itself, its energy safely dissipating. The doomsday weapon was dead, and the AI turned its attention to Kreth. The warlord was a fierce warrior, trained since youth for combat. He lasted almost 30 seconds before the AI killed him. With 1 minute left on its countdown, the AI completed its mission. Kreth was dead. The device was destroyed. The flagship's crew was in chaos. The AI activated its self-destruct protocol as programmed. Objective complete. It transmitted to the horizon's edge. Terminating systems now. The fighter, still inside Kreth's flagship, exploded. The blast destroyed the reactor chamber and crippled the massive warship. Without their leader, without their doomsday weapon, the remaining Vex fleet faltered. Admiral Sujin seized the moment. All Vex vessels, this is Admiral Sujin Quan of Earth Defense Force. Your warlord is dead. Your superweapon is destroyed. We have shown you what we're capable of. You have one chance to surrender. Stand down now, or we will continue fighting until every one of your ships is gone. The Vex fleet had already lost over 100 ships to human weapons. They had watched their commander die. They had seen species they thought of as weak prey fight with terrifying effectiveness. Many of them had never wanted this war in the first place. One by one, Vex ships began broadcasting surrender codes. First dozens, then hundreds. Within 20 minutes, the entire invasion fleet had stood down. The battle for Earth was over. In the command center of the Resolute, Admiral Sujin allowed herself one moment of relief. They had won. Earth was safe. But as she looked at the casualty reports, she felt the weight of victory. 18 human ships destroyed. Over 800 crew members dead. Thousands of Vex casualties. She opened a channel to all human vessels. All ships, this is Admiral Quan. Stand down from combat alert. Medical ships, begin rescue operations for survivors from both sides. Yes, both sides. The war is over. Now we see if we can build something better from what's left. Jiwan sat in her command chair, exhausted. Her crew looked the same. They had survived, but barely. The horizon's edge had taken heavy damage. The port side was scarred with plasma burns. Several systems were offline, but they were alive. Captain, Hana said quietly, we did it. We actually did it. We did, Jiwan agreed. But I keep thinking about that AI. How easily it killed. How efficient it was. It did what we made it to do, Minho said. Just like all our weapons. Exactly, Jiwan replied. It did what we made it to do. That's what scares me. We made all of these things. The torpedoes that dissolve ships. The nano-weapons that eat through hulls. The AI that kills without hesitation. We made them because we needed them to fight ourselves. Doyan looked at his captain. What are you saying? I'm saying the Vex weren't wrong to be afraid. Not of our weapons. Of us. Of what we're capable of when we decide to survive. Jiwan stood up. The question is, what does the rest of the galaxy think now that they've seen what we can do? The answer to that question came 3 days later. A transmission from the Galactic Coalition High Council. Earth's leaders were summoned to answer for their actions. The message was formal, official, and ominous. 17 species wanted to know if humanity was safe to keep in the galaxy. Admiral Sujin looked at the summons and smiled grimly. Well, we wanted them to take us seriously. Looks like they finally are. The Galactic High Council, met on a neutral space station called Unity Point. It was built specifically for meetings between different species, with environments suitable for all 17 member races. The main chamber was enormous, with each species having their own section designed for their comfort. At the center was a platform, where those being judged would stand. Ambassador Jiho Kong stood on that platform, representing humanity. He was a diplomat with 30 years of experience, someone who had helped humanity join the Galactic Coalition in the first place. Next to him stood Admiral Sujing Huan in full military uniform. They had agreed that humanity needed both voices today, the diplomat and the warrior. The 17 species sat in their sections, looking down at the humans. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. Jiho recognized most of them. The Keltharians, ancient beings who had existed for 50,000 years. The Porvians, a gentle species that had never fought a war. The Threll, warrior people who respected strength. Many others, each with their own history and perspective. The head of the council was Counselor Velmic, a Keltharian whose age was measured in centuries. His voice was deep and slow, like speaking required great effort. Humanity stands before this council to answer charges of violating the Concordat of Restrained Force. You deployed weapons that have been forbidden by galactic law for 12,000 years. Weapons that break reality itself. Weapons that kill without mercy. How do you answer these charges? Jiho stepped forward. We acknowledge that we used these weapons. We do not deny it. But we ask the council to consider the circumstances. Circumstances do not change the law, a Porvian counselor said, their voice high and musical. These weapons were forbidden because they are too terrible to use. You agreed to this when you joined the coalition. We agreed not to use them for aggression, Admiral Sujin said firmly. We did not agree to let our people die while we waited for diplomacy to work. The Vex Collective attacked 4 of our colonies. 2,000 humans died. We tried peaceful solutions. We followed every protocol. The Vex ignored all of it. They came to destroy Earth itself. What would you have us do? Die courteously? A Threll counselor spoke up, his voice gravelly and harsh. The Vex made their choice. You made yours. This is the way of survival. I see no crime here. The crime is in the weapons themselves, the Porvian insisted. Weapons that destroy at the molecular level. Machines that kill without conscience. These things should not exist. Jiho knew this was the crucial moment. You're right. They shouldn't exist. That's why we sealed them away 80 years ago. After the Third Global War, humanity almost destroyed itself. We killed 3 billion of our own people. We learned what happens when war becomes total, when survival becomes everything. We decided never to use those weapons again. But you did use them, Counselor Velmic said. You unsealed what you had sworn to keep hidden. Yes, Jiho admitted. Because we were faced with a choice. Use them or die. We chose to live. But we asked the Council to note what we did not do. We did not use these weapons against civilian targets. We targeted military vessels only. We offered surrender to Vex ships that stood down. We gave them chances to stop fighting. Many Vex warriors are alive today because we showed restraint even in combat. Admiral Sujin pulled up casualty data on the chamber's main display. We could have killed every Vex in that fleet. Our weapons are that effective. But we didn't. We killed enough to stop the invasion. Then we stopped. That's what humans do. We use the minimum force necessary to survive. The ancient Keltharian counselor was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was different. Not judgmental, thoughtful. I have lived for 8,000 years. I have seen many species rise and fall. I have watched civilizations destroy themselves with their own weapons. When humanity first joined the coalition, we studied your history carefully. We saw the wars. We saw the weapons. We were concerned. And now? Jiho asked. Now I am less concerned. Not because your weapons are less dangerous, but because you sealed them away. You could have kept using them. You could have conquered your solar system through force. Instead, you chose peace. That choice means more than any words you could speak here today. A younger counselor, a Belvian, spoke up. But what about next time? If another species threatens you, will you unseal more weapons? Where does it end? Admiral Sujin answered. It ends with us choosing peace whenever possible, and war only when necessary. We're not asking the galaxy to trust that we're harmless. We're asking you to trust that we're capable and restrained. There's a difference. The council deliberated for 3 hours. Jiho and Sujin waited in a nearby chamber. They could not hear what was being said, but they knew their fate was being decided. Finally, they were called back to the main chamber. Counselor Velmic spoke for the group. The Galactic High Council has reached a decision. We find that humanity's actions, while extreme, were justified by the circumstances. The Vex Collective violated your sovereignty. They ignored diplomatic solutions. They threatened your homeworld with total destruction. You had the right to defend yourselves. Jiho felt relief flooding through him. But Velmic wasn't finished. However, the Council cannot ignore the danger that human weapons represent. Therefore, we require the following. First, humanity must share complete specifications of all sealed weapons with the Coalition Security Archives. This ensures mutual deterrence and prevents surprise. Second, humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Coalition with all rights and responsibilities. You are no longer guests. You are equals. Third, humanity will take a seat on this council, joining us in making decisions that affect all species. Sujin looked surprised. You're promoting us? After seeing what we can do? A Thrall counselor laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. We're promoting you because we saw what you can do, and because you chose not to do all of it. That's the species we want making decisions alongside us. The council session ended. As Jiho and Sujin left the chamber, they were approached by several counselors who wanted private words. But 3 approached together, and something about them made Jiho uneasy. They were representatives from the Turkan Supremacy, the Vrol Empire, and the Kes Matriarchy. 3 species that existed outside the coalition, known for their aggressive expansion and military strength. They had been observers at the trial, watching but not voting. The Vrol ambassador, a tall being covered in metallic scales, spoke first. Ambassador Kang, Admiral Quan, we wish to discuss a matter of mutual interest. We're listening, Sujin said carefully. Our species have watched humanity's development with interest. Your battle against the Vex was impressive. Very impressive. We wanted to ensure you understand that we have no hostile intentions toward Earth. The Turkan representative added, in fact, we wish to propose non-aggression pacts between our peoples. Formal agreements that we will not interfere with human space, and you will not interfere with ours. Jiho was surprised. These were aggressive empires. They conquered other species regularly. Why the sudden interest in peace with us? The Kes ambassador, speaking with a voice like singing crystals, answered honestly. Because we recognize what you are. You're predators who chose to be peaceful. That's far more dangerous than simple violence. A warrior who wants to fight is predictable. A warrior who doesn't want to fight but can is terrifying. The Vrol ambassador continued. We've conquered dozens of species. Most fight because they have to. They never had a choice. But you had weapons that could have made you the strongest power in the galaxy, and you locked them away. You chose restraint when you had every reason to choose dominance. That speaks to a strength of will we respect. And frankly, fear a little. So you want peace with us because you're afraid? Sujin asked. We want peace because we're smart, the Turcan corrected. Fighting a species like yours would be costly even if we won. Better to be neighbors than enemies. The three ambassadors left formal non-aggression proposals and departed. Jiho looked at Sujin. Did that really just happen? The three most aggressive species in the galaxy just asked us to be friends because they're scared. Sujin smiled. Not scared, cautious. There's a difference. Come on. We need to get back to Earth. We have a lot to tell the Council. The journey home took 5 days. When they arrived, Earth looked exactly as it had when they left. Beautiful, peaceful, unchanged. But everything had changed. Humanity was no longer the newcomers in the galaxy. They were equals. Maybe more than equals. Captain Jiwan Park received a promotion to Commodore. She was given command of Earth's First Contact Defense Group, a new unit tasked with protecting human interests while exploring new space. Her mission was clear: make sure everyone in the galaxy knew that humanity preferred peace, but could handle war. Minho Kim left active service to teach at the Naval Academy. He trained new officers in tactics, in weapon systems, and most importantly, in restraint. Anyone can pull a trigger, he told his students. The hard part is knowing when. Not to. Hannah Lee joined a research team that included scientists from 6 different species. They worked on defensive technologies that might make weapons like Earth's unnecessary. It was slow work, but important work. Building peace was harder than building weapons. Do-Yun Choi stayed in communications, but his job changed. He became part of a new initiative to tell humanity's story across the galaxy. To make sure that when other species looked at humans, they understood the context. Yes, humanity had terrible weapons. Yes, they could fight with devastating effectiveness. But they chose not to unless forced. 5 years passed. The Vex Collective reformed under new leadership. They joined the Galactic Coalition, having learned their lesson about judging species by appearances. Some Vex even served on human ships, building friendships with former enemies. Commodore Jiwan Park commanded a fleet of 12 ships now. They patrolled the borders of human space, responding to problems and helping where they could. Today, they received a distress call from a Vex colony. Pirates were attacking. The Vex specifically requested human assistance. Jiwan smiled at the irony. 5 years ago, she had fought the Vex. Now she was protecting them. Set course for the Vex colony. Maximum speed. And crew? We go in with shields up and strong words first. Let's show these pirates how Earth handles things now. The horizon's edge jumped faster than light travel, leading the fleet. Behind it, Earth shone in the darkness. A planet that had almost destroyed itself, learned from the experience, and chosen a better path. A species that proved that strength and mercy weren't opposites. They were 2 parts of the same thing. Admiral Sujin Quan, now Grand Admiral of all Earth Defense Forces, gave a speech that became the foundation of human military doctrine. She spoke from the bridge of the Resolute, broadcasting to every human ship and station. We are not pacifists. We never were. Pacifists refuse to fight on principle. We refuse to fight unless necessary. There's a difference. We have seen what we're capable of. We've looked into that darkness and decided to be better. We will always choose peace first. We will always offer courtesy. We will always try diplomacy before violence. But never, ever mistake our kindness for weakness. We've sealed away our worst weapons not because we can't use them, but because we choose not to. That choice is what makes us strong. That choice is what makes us human. And if anyone forces us to make the other choice, They'll learn why we sealed those weapons away in the first place. The message spread across the galaxy. Some species heard it as a threat. Most heard it as a promise. Humanity would be peaceful neighbors, good friends, and reliable allies. But they would also be dangerous enemies to anyone foolish enough to force conflict. The galaxy learned to respect humanity, not because they were the strongest, not because they had the best weapons, but because they had the strength to choose restraint when they could have chosen domination, because they had learned from their mistakes instead of repeating them, because they proved that the most dangerous kind of strength was the strength you never had to use. Earth's final warning echoed across the stars, not as words, but as action, as example, as choice. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were capable of, and more importantly, they had shown what they chose to be instead. The universe watched and learned, some with respect, some with fear, all with understanding. Humanity had earned their place among the stars, not through conquest, but through restraint. Not by winning wars, but by choosing not to fight them unless absolutely necessary. And that, more than any weapon or any fleet, made humanity something the galaxy had never quite seen before. A species that had evolved not past violence, but past the need to use it constantly. A species that could be trusted with power because they had already proven they didn't need to abuse it. In the end, the title of humanity's story wrote itself across 1,000 worlds and countless species, not in words of conquest or domination, but in the simple truth that the strongest beings in the universe aren't those who fight best. They're the ones who know when not to fight at all. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. That was their warning. That was their promise. Stop attacking, or we stop being courteous. And once we stop being courteous, you'll wish we hadn't.